Hello and welcome to Talking TSM, the Game House's talk show about TSM's LCS team. I am Robert Haynes, your host, your guide into the world of TSM. This show is sponsored by no one yet. If your company, wants to sponsor the show, please reach out to business@thegamehouse.com. Thanks. Couple quick announcements. This week has been a little tough for me. I have been fighting a cold, what I perceive to be a cold. No fever, no coughing. Mostly just stuffy nose, and the coughing that's associated with that, which is like once every couple hours. So I am getting a COVID test Saturday just in case. But yeah, it's for those who celebrate Christmas Eve. And all week, all I've been trying to do is sleep and, take my vitamins and stuff to be better. You guys should have heard me even like 2 days ago. It was rough, but I am still here. I'm committed to getting this podcast out to all of you wonderful people. So apologies if I maybe cough a tiny bit or if I sniffle. Or for my voice sounding strange because of my stuffy nose this week. So apologies for that. But if you're still listening and you're looking for something to get you through the holidays, hopefully this will help. Again, if you celebrate. We're going to start off this week with the Bjergsen interview that he did with Travis Gafford. And I've watched it. I'm going to be using the League of Minions post from Reddit, though, to kind of remind myself because I watched it, when it came out. So kind of had forgotten and realistically, honestly, have been mostly in bed the last couple of days. So I've not had a chance to rewatch it. But there are some interesting things to talk about here. And the first one is, the fact that Bjergsen in here feels like he's not retiring, but he's coaching, right? Like he's moving to a different position. And that makes me wonder, is that just the way that he's, trying to phrase it? Is that just kind of the way he's feeling, like in terms of, dealing with it? Because that makes it sound like, to me, like he plans on coming back. And excuse me. Sorry, my alarm was going off. But that surprises me a little bit because it almost feels like a way of like he's just trying to deal with the retirement and or the not playing. Sorry if we don't want to call it retirement. And, that's something in and of itself. He is still young. He's only like 24 years old. And I know even in League of Legends time, that's pretty old or whatever. But, a lot of people have said this, and I fully believe it too. Players can probably play into their 30s. And I think we will start to see that. I thought Doublelift was going to be that person. I'll be totally frank. I think I maybe even mentioned it on one of the earlier Talking TSM podcasts. But I don't know. Anyways, yeah. So, I'm still surprised that he kind of phrased it that way. It makes me wonder when he would plan on coming back. Like, why would you only plan on coaching for 1 year? He's not going anywhere other than TSM. He's a part owner. There's just no way he's leaving TSM, and he wouldn't. I can't imagine him leaving to go play somewhere else. We talked about this. They signed PoE to a 2-year deal. They have Sword just sitting and waiting until PoE, either steps out or is no longer on TSM. And unless a Bjerg decides to do a full-on role swap to, I don't know, maybe he does a Huhi and transfers down to the bot lane and plays support, I kind of think his playing days are done. Because when you sign that contract to be on to be a part owner of a team, you can't go anywhere else without losing that percentage, more than likely, because it's a conflict of interest. So, that's been the whole discussion around why Sneaky hasn't gotten to play anywhere else. So, yeah, I don't really know how to feel about that one. I did find it interesting as well that Mithy was the one who inspired Bjerg towards coaching. I didn't know that they were close still. It felt like Mithy kind of left on bad terms with TSM, but maybe not with Bjergsen in particular. So I thought that was pretty cool. But, he talks about, then he focused more on his own play because he was going up against the top players in the world and wasn't able to help coach. Huh. Like, dude, this Worlds run for TSM was just it sounds like a circus. And you got to blame 95% of that, I'm sure, on COVID, right? I'm sure these guys are just going there. They're trying to grind. They're trying to figure out their sleep schedules. I mean, when you're not allowed to leave basically one room for 2 full weeks, I'm sure that had an effect on their mental. I'm sure. And, it's interesting that Bjerg feels this way because I don't know. I just if everything else has been working all year long, and I know they're playing against better competition. I understand that, but why change it up at the most crucial time of the year for them? Why focus on your own play instead of helping coach? He should have known he was the best he had been. 2020 was arguably Bjergsen's best year in 3 years. He was outstanding in 2020. And I'm sad to see that he felt the need to try to improve himself so drastically and not help the team get where they needed to be. I bet you they win a couple games if that happens. And this is why, though, I will say this is why I am very confident that he's going to be a great coach. Because if this team has been able to do what it has been able to do with the talent that it has had, and with him being the main coach, basically, having him as a coach is going to be awesome. This team is going to be, I think he brings such a difference in terms of coaching that, like I said, I think I've said it at least 2 or 3 times on this show, I believe he's going to win Coach of the Year. Or at least TSM will win coaching staff if they keep it that way. And it will largely be because of him. He is going to make his players play better because he is the coach. And this could be the beginning of what will be potentially the best coaching run not only NA has ever seen, but potentially the world has ever seen. And I know that sounds crazy. We're just stepping away from Reaper and everything else. But if this guy is so good that that his coaching was such a disparity between what we saw at the LCS Championship and what we are seeing or what we saw at Worlds, then I can't say anything else but that I'm impressed. And damn, do we have a great coach. He goes on to say, he was going to retire anyways, even if they got out of groups. And apparently, Parth had been begging him to stay, which, after the first split of 2020 for TSM, I can't blame him. I'm sure that certain players were grinding on his mental. COVID was grinding on his mental. The inability to succeed was probably grinding on his mental and just grinding on him in general. But I bet he's glad that Parth said, "Hey, come back, bro. Come back. Let's do this." Because he got one more LCS championship. I mean, him and Doublelift could not have gone out on a better way outside of performing extremely well at Worlds. And you know what? If we take that part out of it, the summer season, the run that they had, the historic run that they had to an LCS championship was probably enough. I'm sure he really wanted to do well at Worlds, and I don't blame him. But, yeah, I mean, I think he is excited to coach, and I think he's excited to show the world what his big-ass brain can do when he has the full chance to do it. Some other quick things in here. Kays is the best scout he has ever seen. That's great. I love to hear that because they, also getting Curry, and, excuse me. Goodness, there it is. There's the first cough. Count them. Apologies. That one was a tickle. A tickle. Anyways, this coaching staff is going to be outstanding. That's my point. When you have Bjergsen, when you have Kays, when you have Curry, we don't know who else is technically staying, so I'm not going to mention them right now. But I mean, that's already the makings of a great coaching staff. I guess Peter. I do need to give Peter plenty of credit. I mean, player development, head coach of the academy squad. They continue to create great talent, and yeah, TSM is setting itself up for the future with at least their coaching staff, and that's great. It is interesting that he talks about wishing the 2016-2017 roster would have stayed together. Thinks the team suffered from success and didn't want to work hard to improve their issues because they were still winning hard in the LCS. Boy, oh boy. If that doesn't speak to an organization being run by younger individuals, then I don't know what does. Because that's the truth. I mean, that's kind of how it is, right now in esports. You don't have those older, wiser, more experienced people who are like, hey, if you rest on your laurels, you're not going to get, like sure, you guys are spanking right now, but, if you guys want to do well at Worlds, you need to practice hard in the LCS too. And so, it's interesting. I would love to have seen that team stay together too. Hanser, Svenskeren, Bjergsen, Doublelift, and Bio Daddy, I think, would have still been one of the top LCS teams. I know they broke up to get Sven and Mithy, and that's whatever, I guess. But damn, if that team would not have just blown everybody out of the water still. If they would have all just practiced hard together and just stayed together and put together, damn, they would have been good. The last and most interesting thing that I'm hearing is the first bit of this coaching, this PR type talk from Bjerg, which he's never really been one for the PR necessarily. He's generally said what he wanted to, but two things. Basically that they got the 2021 roster they wanted from the start, although they expected Doublelift, and that he thinks that Huni is criminally underrated and said that Huni consistently gave BB a hard time. And that Huni was basically stuck on bad teams, which Huni has been stuck on some bad teams. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Evil Geniuses ever really came together as a team. It seemed like, sadly, Bang was going through some, mental health issues. It felt like Jizuke was off in his own world. Svenskeren was like, what the hell is going on here? And then Huni's just sitting up there in the top lane like, yo, guys, I'm here. And, to a certain degree, I'm going to give Bjerg the benefit of the doubt because they probably looked like I did at all the top lane options. If they were going to have PoE and Sword Art as their mid and bot and, international slots, then they had to get somebody who's from NA. And I would prefer Huni over Impact, which is just people are, I'm sure, going to rip me for. Holy crap, I can't wait to hear that. But listen, I like Impact. I've interviewed him. I've met him. He's a very, very cool guy. He's so fun. He's just very, I don't know, he's fun to talk to. He's very respectful, but he's limited. He's limited in the champions that he plays and the style that he plays. And that style that he plays, he's one of the best at. Easily one of the best at. But when you don't know where you're going to have your carries coming from, right? You need a little bit of that wild card, I would say. to a certain degree, right? And Huni provides that. Like, Spica is probably going to be the carry. It sounds like the jungle meta, by the way. I haven't played much outside of, some Nexus Blitz and stuff over the last couple weeks, but apparently the jungle meta is really strong. And that is extremely beneficial for us with Spica, right? But, PoE is going to be who he is. And that's not a bad thing either. He's going to do great. Then, Lost and Doublelift are Lost and Doublelift. Holy crap. Can you tell I've been under the weather? Lost and Sword Art are going to do their thing in the bot lane. We really don't know who Lost is going to be yet, because you've seen players who don't come up and play the same way that they had in Academy or before then. So we'll have to see. Maybe he becomes a carry, like a true carry. I think it's going to be more of a don't lose bot lane, and they play through the jungle. But anyways, Huni is probably underrated. I will give him that. I don't know that he's was consistently giving BB a hard time, because BB was just crapping on everybody by the end of the season last year. During the playoffs, I thought BB probably should have deserved MVP, honestly. I know that Bjerg had an outstanding season, but in the games that they won, BB was the carry. And I know they gave him the resources. I understand that. But people are given resources and still suck. It happens in your solo queue games. It happens in the LCS. It happens in the LPL. All of them. Okay? So, yeah. For Huni, I'm excited. I'm glad that Bjerg's doing a little bit of the PR stunt. I'm glad he's, saying, hey, guys, like, we need to, let's rally around Huni, right? And for TSM fans, for right now, we just got to trust Bjerg. I mean, seriously. That's the slogan for a t-shirt right there. Be on the lookout. I might be putting that one out there. Trust in Bjerg. Because that's what we've been doing already for the last 7 years anyways. Why not do it now? All right. With that, it kind of actually leads a little bit into my conversation here. In terms of, I wrote a piece titled, Should TSM Consider a 7-Man Roster? And you guys did not like it. And I understand that. I wanted to pose the question and start a conversation, although everybody so quickly, as always, just reads the title and says, no. I thought I put some pretty good arguments in there for why you could or couldn't, and that was my goal, was to just put it out there, put both opinions out there, show current and previous examples of it, and then allow you guys to come to a conclusion on your own. And so when I'm talking about a 7-man roster, what I am discussing is more so like a true, let's test things out, because we don't know what Huni is going to be. We don't know what Lost is going to be. And we know what Cody Sun is, and we know what Hanser is. And yes, I understand. We know Huni in terms of he is a known commodity, and I even state that. But, we don't really know what he's going to be for this team. And they got Hanser for the specific purpose of backing up Huni. And obviously Cody Sun was the same way. Because if you have to plug in Hanser and Cody Sun and make it a Hanser, Spica, Power of Evil, Cody Sun, and Sword Art team, that is still a solid team. Okay? That is still a solid team. Both those players would have had LCS offers had most of these lower level teams not gone for new talent, which I love, by the way. I want to say that outright. I love it. I've talked about it on here as well, about how I would have kind of liked TSM to think about it as well, because I think they could have created a great roster. But that's neither here nor there. So, listen, I think that they could get away using at least the first 2 or 3 weeks after the lock-in tournament to kind of mix and match with the team, because, or maybe even during the lock-in tournament, I don't know, because if people used these things in a similar way, you could play these players based on who they're playing against, right? You could use Cody Sun in games where he's going to be matched up against the TL bot lane or the Cloud9 bot lane, right? Where he has at least found enough success to hold his own down there, right? So that Lost doesn't get shit on. Not saying that he will. He might crush them. I don't know. But like you could play around with that. Or with Huni and with Hanser, right? You could provide the option for the team to, how do I put this delicately, to mess with the other team and not only not let you know who's playing that day, right? But TSM could base it off of who the matchups are against. You know, if you need a more conservative jungle, right? If your draft for that day is, or top laner, right? If your draft that day is, hey, we're going conservative, you put in Hanser. You know he's going to hold his own. He's going to farm, and he just likely at least won't die, or he'll absorb enough pressure so that everything else goes where it needs to. Or if you need a spark, right? If you're like, hey, you know what? We're going to be playing the top lane today, so we're going to put in Huni. And if you don't announce it till it starts, then so be it. And sure, these teams can prepare for it. Oh, okay, we know Huni's there, so they're going to draft. Sure, split it up a little bit, right? You know, mix it in, mix it out, right? But like, if a team took advantage of that, they could really mess with other teams. That could be frustrating as hell. Now, I'm sure Huni and Hanser may not like that. And I know the teams need time to come together, but I seriously think that could be such an interesting strategy to use. And I'm not saying that they should do it. I'm saying that they could, and it would be interesting. And the ultimate goal of this team, apparently, is to make a run at Worlds, is to win another LCS championship. And they are banking on Huni and Lost to be better than people expect. And if those players don't work out, then you have Hanser and Cody Sun as backups. But guess what? Like, you could just have them right away. It takes a little bit of the pressure off Huni and Lost and allows them to all play together. And they feel like a team. And you can take 7-man rosters to Worlds anyways. I don't know if you knew that or not, but that's a new rule. 7 players can go to Worlds now. And if we're being honest with ourselves, when it comes down to the end of next season, and this team has hopefully, knock on wood, made Worlds, who do you think they're going to bring? They're not going to bring Sword unless a PoE just forgot how to play. They're not going to bring Yurson. They're not going to bring Babip. They're going to bring the 2 best players, more than likely, on the Academy roster, or the ones that are filling the holes that they need the most. Because Sword could ultimately end up being the best. I don't know anything really about Yurson still, but I think it's Yurson. Actually, now that I feel really bad about that. I want to make sure. I'm almost certain. I was saying that off of memory. I've been studying a little bit, but I want to make sure here. It is Yurson. Look at me go. Look at me go. Anyways, I think Sword, could potentially make it, but he still needs time. He's pretty young. And Hanser and Cody Sun have both been to Worlds, so yeah, you could easily bring them. But I don't think that they will ultimately use a 7-man roster. I think 5 is fine. I think they are going to try to imbue and empower Huni and Lost, and hope that Lost turns into the next FBI/tactical, and hope that Huni returns to his Fnatic SKT form. And if he does that, and if Lost can even be, like a 4th or 5th best LCS AD carry, then this team looks pretty good. Because I think coaching gives each player basically a full spot up from what they're naturally ranked as. So we'll see. Again, I doubt they'll do 7-man. I just wanted to get my thoughts out there. I hope that you guys are more willing to consider actually reading the story instead of just shitting on it right away. Or maybe you did read it and you still shit on it. That's fine. I get it. All right, I'm going to take another drink here real quick before we head into the last topic of the day. As it is the holiday season,
no matter what you celebrate. Most of the time, you use this time and the end of the year to talk about what you're thankful for. And so before I get into this, I'm going to be a little sappy. I'm thankful for you guys. Last episode was the most watched. Cody's son was a great guest. I'm sure he was very excited. He's already loving TSM fans because, yeah, hey, you know what? We're loyal and we support our own. And, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to do this because, if people weren't really listening / watching, I would have had to stop. But I have loved this. I love this format. I love, hearing from you guys. I love just being able to get things out there and just talk about TSM. That's the name of the show. So I am thankful for you guys. I'm thankful for, staff at TGH, and I'm excited for 2021. But we also have to talk about what we're thankful for with TSM. And I would like to start with TSM Origins. Did you think I was really going to go through this whole thing without talking about TSM Origins? Come on. No, TSM Origins was so good. I hope that they continue to do this. I hope they continue to kind of build up the history because TSM is a team that has a long history. Not a lot of teams have this. Not a lot of esports teams, even esports in general, have this. But TSM does. And they are, that documentary was great. I was just getting started around season 3, getting into TSM. I think it was like season 4 or 5 when I really, really got into it. But I really only watched a little bit of Reggie on the team, to be honest. The person I had been, following was actually Dyrus. Dyrus was the one who helped me really get into League. I was watching his guides in 2012, I think. Yeah, I think it was 2012. I was watching his guides on how to play Singed. I remember it was great. And so getting to see him up there and talking a lot again, seeing the Odd One, all them, was really cool. It allowed me to kind of catch up on some things that I had kind of missed out on. I didn't really get to watch, the real life, GameSpot show. So I thought I'm thankful that they did that because I really like that. I hope they do it some more, and I hope for new TSM fans, you go back, you watch it, you learn your roots, learn about this team at the beginning of time. I'm also thankful that we are currently the LCS champions. It feels so good to say, doesn't it? After all the shit that we've gotten, after 9-9 seasons and certain players ruining our reputation, and all the crap we got from bringing Double It back and the Lena stuff with that, and yeah, I'm thankful that we are the current reigning LCS champions. And sure, we only have one player returning from that roster, but I don't care because it'll be a fun year in 2021. This roster looks interesting, and so I'm thankful for that. And lastly, and probably most importantly, I'm thankful that Bjergsen didn't just step away completely. He could have gone straight into streaming and just barely been associated with TSM. But we get to keep him. And I think coaching's going to suit him. And I think he's going to like it a lot. And I think they're going to find success. And I think he's going to probably run this LCS team for a long time. If he never moved from TSM when he was a player, I can't imagine that he will now, as I said a little bit before. So, yes, I'm very thankful that we get at least another year with Bjerg, and we get to try out this new LCS format, which I think greatly benefits a team like ours because, if we struggle a little bit at the beginning, we have time to figure it out, and then once we put all the pieces together, similar to how we did last year, then we make our run in the summer. And sure, yes, all the games count towards the summer. I understand that, but the system is made for teams to make runs. It's exciting. People love that stuff. That's why there are 8 teams in the summer playoffs. Not saying that we'll be anywhere near 8th, hopefully. Ugh. But, hopefully we make a deep run. / make it to Worlds. / hopefully win another LCS championship. So, yes, very thankful that we get Bjerg. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode with the question of the week. And some of you think, hey, does Robert really look towards the future? Does he plan out this show? And sometimes I'll be honest, no. Other times, absolutely. And this is one of those times. Next week, we are going to be doing some New Year's resolutions for TSM because by the time this show comes out next week, it will be the 31st. It will be the end of December. We will be finally rid of this horrid 2020. So, I would like to hear from you guys. What are some New Year's resolutions for TSM as we head into the 2021 season? Again, what are some New Year's resolutions for TSM as we head into the new year? Leave those in the comment sections below or let us know on Reddit. With that, if you like the show, please take a second to like, subscribe, and comment. I'm seeing people are subscribing and liking and commenting, and I really appreciate you. And I will respond to those more often. Apologies again. Been busy/sick, so I promise I will get more on those again. But also hit that bell icon so you don't miss another episode. Again, specifically on the YouTube channel. I do want to make this the #1 TSM podcast on all podcasting platforms. So if you feel so inclined, please leave a review, especially if you're listening on Apple. I would appreciate it greatly. And lastly, please share this with your friends. You can find the official tweet if you're on Twitter, either on my account at TGHRobertHaynes or the Gamehouse's Twitter account at TGHEsports. Please use the hashtag TalkingTSM when tweeting at us or sharing, or if you just want to tweet at us for anything, use the hashtag TalkingTSM. Make sure to find it. With that, thanks for tuning in. As a reminder, this show comes out every Thursday, even if I'm feeling a little under the weather. And it is exclusively for your TSM earholes. I'm Robert Haynes, and this has been Talking TSM. See you next week.